That was fun.
Was.
Yeah. Well, welcome. We're going to get started here in a bit. I know people are going to start filtering in. Thank you guys for joining us for the social media live. I'm Lynn Thomas, a co-founder of Arenas for Change, and I'm super excited to be joined today by members of our Arch Creators team. Lynn Moore, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. Lynn Moore here, founder of Acres for Life and also co-creator in Arch. So just excited to be here with you and from Minnesota.
Great. Well, my name is Amanda Graham, and I am the founder of Unbridled Way Forward here in North Carolina. Yes, I have on a little sweatshirt, but that's because the air conditioning is on. It's super hot here. I'm very glad to be here and part of the co-creator team for Arch. I'm going to be mainly behind the scenes, so you may see me pop in and pop out, but I'll be following and hopefully connecting everyone through this process.
You think so right now, Amanda, but we'll be pulling you in, I'm sure.
Okay. Well, I'm going to pop out right now. Okay.
All right.
See you later.
All right. Thank you so much, Amanda. And yeah, since we're saying our locations, I'm here in Utah. I'm inside, unlike Lynn. That's a beautiful setting that you have
Yeah,
there.
I was like, I want to be outside. I love to be outside and thinking about the topic, emotional safety. I always, 25 years been working in this industry and being outside, and I just find it helps bring emotional safety forward. So anyway, I'm sure we'll talk more about that later.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And that's where I'm really excited for this conversation. I feel like emotional safety is something that is integral. It's at the foundation of effective facilitation, no matter our setting. I mean, we're really focused on equine assisted and nature based for mental health, well-being, personal growth types of services. And I think it's acknowledged in this realm, and yet I think there's a lot of nuances and things that we don't really talk about. And that was really at the basis of when we started Arenas for Change, one of the things we really wanted to focus on, because I've personally found that it's emotional safety that helps continue to help us have better sessions than we already have. And I just want to acknowledge that we do great work. All these facilitators, and especially incorporating horses, are doing such wonderful work out there. And I think back to the kind of work I did 25 years ago, 20 years ago, 15.
We're so old. We're so
I
old
know,
now.
we're so old now. And I think about how much I keep learning and evolving and changing, and how I mean, the work that I felt we did 20 years ago and so forth was really good. It was transformative. Like, it was changing the world, and it's still changing the world. But then each time I learn something and dig a little bit deeper, I feel like, oh, now the sessions are going even better, and now they're going even better. And I feel like it's that whole, like, we don't know what we don't know kind of thing. And there's always a way to keep improving our skills as facilitators. And I feel like emotional safety is one of those realms of there's nuances and subtleties that really make a difference. I don't know. You have thoughts, Lynn?
I 100% agree with you. I think there's so much great work going on out there. And this is we can just take that next layer of the onion off, that awareness of maybe something we're doing. And just as we become more aware, right, then we can adjust it and change it and deepen and improve the experience with our clients.
Yeah. Well, for those of you who are joining us live, we'd love to invite you, if you have comments or questions, to put in the comments. We'd love to have this, hear your thoughts and ideas as we go through the discussion. And Amanda's going to be helping monitor that. So I thought it'd be good, Lynn, to start off with just, I guess, what is emotional safety, and to kind of literally what it is and what it isn't. And I think sometimes there's some confusion too about what it is and what it isn't. So and I forgot to mention, you guys, that I wrote a blog article that we published recently on the Arenas for Change website. And Amanda, I don't know if you are able to put the link in the comments there if people want to check it out if they haven't seen it already. But we're going to base some of our discussion on that. And it was so neat going back to our history in Arch. When literally when we started Arch, we said, what do we want to keep learning? Because we just love learning with each other. That's why we started. And we want to involve more people. Let's learn, let's share ideas. How can we keep getting better and better, as we were just sharing? And we said, well, what is one of the main areas we focus on? And emotional safety came up because the idea of people truly feeling seen and heard and accepted in sessions,
Hmm.
how that's so transformative, just that alone. And when we think of
Right.
horses, how that's one of the reasons horses are so effective is they create a space where people just feel seen, heard, and accepted for who they
Hmm.
are. And so that's where we started. And it was so interesting because I looked back, we started a quarterly book club, and our very first book club was a book called The Fearless Organization,
Hmm.
Creating Psychological Safety in the Workplace for Learning, Innovation, and Growth. It's by Amy Edmondson. If you haven't read it, it is such a good book. I highly, highly
So good.
recommend it.
Hmm.
And back then, it was just neat that that was our very first book club and how that really was about our foundation. She does such a good job, even though it's talking about the workplace, it's really all places about defining psychological, she calls it psychological safety. We're using emotional safety interchangeably, I feel, with that. But she shares about that. And in our the blog article, I also share a little 3-minute video that she shares about what psychological safety is. And I mean, the simplicity of it is the belief that a place, she says the workplace, but a belief that any place is safe for speaking up, that your voice is valued, and that there's a permission for candor.
Oh, I love that. I love how that just feels so rich, right? Thinking about what space that creates, like those characteristics, and then what that space feels like. And, I'm a visual, as you know, but I'm like thinking of the softness that is around in that and the ability to just move and embrace whatever's showing up, versus can I say it? And what if I say it that way? And how is some more defensive or guardedness?
Yeah, and you know what, when you even talk about the softness, and that's one of the things she addresses too, which I think is really neat, is there's
Hmm.
the misunderstanding, what it's not. There's a misunderstanding that emotional safety means we're just like, oh, I don't know, the word coddling comes to my mind. We're all just, oh, happy,
Yeah.
rainbows and unicorns, it's just peace and all and joy. And that's not emotional safety. And in fact, I would say it's the opposite of emotional safety, because emotional safety is when, and she shares about this too, is when there's safety to have conflict, safety to disagree, safety to have,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, just, safety to go through the hard times, and that we will go through it together, right? We will
Hmm.
acknowledge that we disagree, and it's going to be a safe place to have a disagreement. And I love this thought too. It's a safe place to fail. It's a safe place to be wrong.
Yes.
And I think that's so important, because sometimes people think, oh, yeah, the other thing, oh, it's just all happy. No, it's not about joy and no conflict and no challenge. It's about challenge. It's about doing the hard things. And it's safe to do the hard things where you are still seen, heard, and accepted for who you are without having to change who you are.
Right. Right. I think that there's so many thoughts going through my head at once. I don't know if you want to go here yet, but I remember, this discussion, and it's still very prevalent in our values for Arch, right? About how one of our values includes we're going to wrestle through it. We're going to stay in the hard. We're going to stay in that, and we're going to end up in places we never imagined,
Mhm.
right? So we can bring forward our thoughts and feelings and experiences and it's not about being wrong or right. It's about putting it out there and then together holding them holding those thoughts, holding those ideas, client or in any relationship, right? And then both parties or all parties ending up someplace neither has imagined, right?
Yeah.
Unfolding into something new and something different, a new perspective, a new insight, growing and learning together.
Right. And that's, well, I'm going to say one more thing about what Amy shares just in that little
Yes.
3-minute video. So she shares that safety, so emotional
Mhm.
safety is not the goal, which I thought was really interesting. Emotional
That
safety
is
is not the goal, it's a means to the goal. And the goal is excellence and higher quality care.
love that so
Yeah.
much.
And when you have neither excellence nor emotional safety, she talks about people go into what she calls the apathy zone.
Mm,
So if there's not a commitment to that excellence and high quality care as a facilitator, and if it's not an emotionally safe place for people to be seen, heard, and accepted, um, and to fail and to be wrong and to go through difficult emotions, and all that kind of stuff,
mhm.
it just goes into the apathy zone. And
That we could explore that whole thing. I mean, even like the excellence, like where as facilitators, how we define that, right? How we define excellence. And if we're fine as for me, if I would define that as a place I'm going to achieve, I would miss, I feel like, the point because it's really past that. It's like a creating a space, a way of being with the client versus, okay, now I'm going to deliver. I just feel like for me, it would be a shorter term. I would sell the client and the experience of myself short.
yeah, yeah. So and that's what she shares. When you have both excellence, a commitment to excellence, and emotional safety, when you have both of those, that's the
Hmm.
high performance. That's where the greatest learning can occur. That's that zone. So I thought that was really neat way to
Yeah.
consider it. That emotional safety is not the goal, excellence is the goal, and emotional safety is the means towards that goal. And so I think it's really then looking at the nuances. And I know, let's see, there's been some comments and um in here already. I don't know, Amanda, if you want to come on and share those, or I can start reading. Yeah, there you go. There.
Yes, and I've been searching around
Yay.
trying to figure out how to comment, add my own comment to be able to attach that link you were talking about, the emotional safety blog. Let's see, now that's showing up.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was able to click show on my end for some reason, and I
Yeah,
don't know, I just hovered over it and there was the word show, so I don't know
yeah,
what that meant.
yeah. So I've been looking for a way to do that, haven't found it yet, so I'm working on that. But I think there is, I'm just looking at a lot of the comments here that are reaffirming what you're saying is that somehow, in spite of everything being different, there will be understanding of both parts. Um, there's some, yes, so I'm just reading these two because I've been searching around,
Oh, okay. No
but
worries, Amanda.
I'm like, but they're just reinforcing what you're saying, Lynn and Lynn, that this is so important and being able to have conflict or disagreement even within that safe space. And I love what you said earlier to begin with, is that a lot of people do feel like saying emotional safety is like being wrapped up in a little blanket, and comforting. And it certainly can feel that way. But as you said, it's not something we're creating or going for. It's something that it's not the goal. It is part of the outcome, what makes it happen. So I'm going to keep looking. Is there
Okay.
anything then you wanted to look at on
It
these?
looks like if you want to just try putting on the links, and it looks like I can hit show at least, so feel free to
Yeah,
try.
I
Oh,
when I try to comment, it doesn't let me open a comment. So
oh, okay. Well, it's safe here. We have a safe place.
say,
That's right.
We can
I'm
make we can
yes,
We'll figure
yeah.
it out.
But
We'll
I
end up
love this
someplace.
and Eleanor, I think that was neat. You brought up something how do you create that safe space when you are one employee out of several? Like if you're working in
Mhm.
a culture and an environment where it's the opposite of emotional safety, where it's not safe to speak up, where you can't fail, where you have to do it right, where people are walking on eggshells. So that's a good question.
That's a really good question. What do you think, Eleanor? I want to hear.
Eleanor, maybe you have the answer to that, because I think ultimately that is one of the things that I feel, there is a time where this relationship isn't going to work out. I can do what I can to be a safe person, to be around in those kind of more
Mhm.
individual interactions within that space. Ultimately, there is a culture though, and I think that's what's important. And I know that's what Amy Edmondson's talking about. There are cultures of organizations, and it's really hard to change culture if the leadership doesn't value the same values you
Right,
have.
right. And I'm just
And that
thinking how that just shuts down any growth for the person that is willing to, or wanting to create an emotional safe environment. And like for our clients, right? If we're not joining them in that space, right? It's going to limit, close down um, that emotional growth, and we can only do so much in a relationship, as you said, Lynn, or
Mm,
culture. Yeah.
which
yeah.
brings us to the necessary endings concept,
There
which
you
we
go.
will.
Another great book, right? That
Yes.
But
Henry Cloud.
before I pop out, I want to say to the two Lyns that I have posted the link to the emotional safety in the private chat that the two of you have with me. So if you can figure out how to copy that and put it into something that's more visible for everyone, that would be awesome.
Well,
I don't
How's
even know if
that?
I could find the private chat we have, so I probably
I've got it. I think I've
You
got it
okay.
got it.
here.
Okay, I'm
I
going to
didn't even
step
Um,
know we
back.
had one.
I'll be back.
I love this. So, yeah, I love that what you're saying here, Rita. It's also includes the freedom to not be tied to pre-planned therapeutic agenda. And
Yes.
actually, that's what we love to go into next, is some of the nuances of what this looks like in practice. And that's what I love about what we're doing in Arch is that's our whole focus is let's kind of keep looking at those little subtle things that we're doing that make a difference in the work that we're doing. And I think emotional safety is very much about very subtle moments. And I'll share with you guys that part of my motivation when I wrote this blog article was just again watching or experiencing a lot of facilitation, very well meaning, coming from good hearts, the best of intentions, that really was, in essence, correcting clients and
Hmm.
not recognizing I'm correcting a client right now. And just as example, for instance, oh, the horse looks scary. No, the horse isn't scary. It's safe. I'm here. The horse is trained. And again, that's coming from a well-meaning. I'm trying to reassure the client. I'm trying to help them feel safe, literally.
Hmm.
And yet, if you think about it, what I really did was I just corrected the client. I didn't hear what they just said. I was trying to fix what they just said. And so instead of maybe saying, oh, wow, the horse looks scary, share more. Share more of the story about what about the horse looks scary. Help me
Hmm.
hear you. Help me understand you. I'm curious. I am in a place of curiosity about what you're sharing instead of I need to correct and fix what you're saying so I can reassure and help you feel better. And that's where I said, like, so much of this is coming from very, very good intentions and good hearts that we all have. That's why we do this work.
Well, I have a kind of a similar thing, and kind of chuckling at myself, but when the client is like, "Oh, that horse doesn't like me," it's walking away, it doesn't like me. And in the earlier days, I would say, "Oh, well, no, he likes you. He's just going over," or I wonder if he might be just moving over there, or just something like that. But I also realized that if the client would have said, the horse likes me, I wouldn't have brought in the opposite of, well, are you sure? He might not like you. You know, like I wouldn't bring in the negative. It was all about the positive. And I think that's, you were talking about that as well, right? We want the client, we want them to feel good and to experience happy, positive thoughts.
I love that example because that's even, I'm just sharing another perspective. That's not correcting or fixing. But no, if you really think
Right.
about it, yeah, I just corrected. I corrected us and not thinking that way. But anyway, yeah, it's just like, okay, my intention behind doing it is because I want them to feel better. And of course we want them to feel better.
Mhm.
But is there another
I mean,
way when
that's
we're
why they're
thinking about
coming to us,
emotion?
right?
Right. Yeah. The emotional safety element is providing a space where people feel seen, heard, and accepted. And if they feel that the horse doesn't
Hmm.
like me, the concept of emotional safety, can we be with that? Can we be
Yeah.
curious about that? Honor that's what the client is feeling right now. And when from the story lens standpoint in Arch, we look at it as, oh, not like has entered into the story.
Hmm.
Fear has scary has entered into the story. And we're like, oh, that's entered into the story now.
So I just wanted to share, building on that. We have a comment here from George who says emotional safety to me as a horse trainer. So from that perspective,
Mm.
excuse me, is nurturing, which encourages personal growth.
Mm.
So just adding that to the conversation. So emotional safety to me as a horse trainer is nurturing, which encourages personal growth, which for me, as I read that, sort of is first cousins to what you were just saying, Lynn Thomas, about being with it, you know, being with it, but not actively trying to change it. Or as Lynn Moore was saying, trying to make the person feel better, that the nurturing can be just a way to support the client as they find their own way forward. My 2 cents.
I I love that. And George, if you're still hear this, could you share more in the chat about what you mean by nurturing? Because that would
Hmm.
be really neat to better understand too. Because when we talk about nurturing and how that encourages personal growth, I would love to just hear more of your thoughts on that. So,
What I
yeah.
was, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Lynn.
I was thinking nurturing, the picture, of course, visual came up in my mind of like gardening and tending, right? How we nurture the plant or the seeds, the soil, we prepare it. We're not constantly digging at it. We're not uncovering to see if the seed is sprouting, right, or growing. We're trusting the process. We're creating and environment that supports growth. And sometimes seeds grow down first or grow sideways first or grow, they don't always just go straight up, and it's not always easy.
Well, and that goes to a basic premise in arts that we talk about, and then I feel goes around why we focus on emotional safety is looking at, I mean, many of us, as we've learned how to do this type of work, we're learning about what to do. We're learning about, oh, here's a structured activity you can put together, or here's the steps you might want to take. Here's the different things you need to look at for safety in the space as far as physical safety and things like that. So we're learning about what to do. And that's
Mhm.
where I don't know if there's as much focus on how we do it. And that's what I've learned, let's see, we've been training professionals for whatever, 25 plus years. And I have so many stories of like, well, here's an activity you can do. Okay, let's do that activity. Here's some maybe basic principles of how you facilitate
Mhm.
and how I would share, well, this would be a good way to maybe respond to this or to answer this question, because
Mhm.
that's always like, how do we respond to this? How do we do that? And what I've learned over the years is it really doesn't totally matter what intervention you're going to do.
Yeah.
Like what matters is the way you facilitate it. And maybe George, that goes to what you were saying. It's the way you show up. It's your
Mhm.
presence. It's how you're engaging with the client, with the horses, with the whole experience in that space of seen, heard, and accepted, where
Right.
I'm not. And I think it was, I can't remember, it was Eleanor, someone that said, or no, Rita, I think that was you that said, following the therapeutic agenda. And instead, in the model, okay, I have this model, I have this framework, I'm going to follow this. And instead of like, am I being with the moment, the present moment? Because sometimes what we do is we end up so focused on our agenda or our model that we forget that like this client is saying something that really we just need to be with what they're saying in this moment. The relationship matters more than the model, than exactly what am I going to do next?
Right.
Let's just be with the relationship. And that's one of the questions we ask in Arch is rather than what am I going to do next? Gee, I wonder what's going to emerge. We're changing that. We're changing that mindset.
It's taking that being with to this deeper level. And I truly believe that people can feel when we're with them. I know we're talking about evolution of where we've been, right? And thinking about when holding the space and that the bowl came up in the article, and we had the person who wrote that come to our conference and share, and it was like, just hold the bowl, and that was life-changing for me. And then like now it's actually being with the bowl, being with what's around the bowl, what's above it, what's in it. It's that whole taking being with to another level, just not trying to change anything, but be present if something needs to move in, an idea, a thought, a feeling, an emotion come in, a behavior come in. Does it stay? Acknowledge, I see you, I hear you, it goes out. It's, shows up again or it doesn't, but it's not meaning to change that.
Go ahead,
I'll just
Amanda.
pop in and say a couple things. George has not responded yet, so I'm not sure he's still with us, but I'm like you, I'm really curious about his comment. The other thing that's coming up for me as I listen to you all talk is the natural flow, which we focus on in Arch. The living story coming in, like you were saying, Lynn, things coming into the bowl, around the bowl, all of that is just letting things come in, letting things go out, and not really grasping onto them, but being curious about them. Very light touch. Oh, George is back. Do you mind if I read this? Would that be helpful?
Oh, yeah.
Can you
Thanks,
read it?
George.
Hey, George. Can he speak? Do you want to see if he can speak up, Lynn? Can he speak?
I know he can speak in real life, but whether we know how to do this on this technology platform.
Yeah.
George, I'm so sorry. I have to learn how to do that, how to invite people to speak. I'm like trying to look. I don't know how to do it.
I don't either. Can you read it, Lynn Thomas, or do you want me to
read it? Yeah, okay. Let's see. Working with a young gelding with Wyatt, emotional safety begins with giving him the freedom to be curious without demanding an answer. Okay, I love that. And that's where I know Amy Edmondson's talk about this, and it's so easy in a subtle way. Sorry, I'm off of George's comment now. I'm going to come back to George's comment. But just that feeling that people have to say the right answer. And it's very subtle that we give the message that you need to say the right answer to our clients and to the horses. I feel too, like you're saying, George, when we present things from a mindset of, I know where this is supposed to go, that certainty, I know where this is supposed to go, or I know where I want this to go. It's very easy to present things in a way that I'm looking for a certain answer. And so I love that. So I'm going to continue back to George now.
That curiosity is so key. Yeah.
Yeah. To be curious without demanding an answer. I'm not trying to desensitize him to the world or teach him simply to tolerate pressure. I want him to learn that he can explore, think, retreat when he needs to, and come forward again when he is ready. Trust grows when he discovers that his voice matters and that I will listen. The goal isn't a horse who obeys because he has learned there is no other choice. Yeah. George,
so powerful.
Super powerful.
Yes.
We both felt the same thing at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh, and you know what? I think it sounds simple when you say it, but it's those little subtleties that matter. And it goes, Yeah, it goes back to that sense of self we talk about in Arch, one of our main scene keystones, sense of self, is really paying attention to our intention, because when you're holding that intention like you're sharing, George, that's where I think it makes such a difference. And Lynn, I don't so I was just thinking from what you were saying earlier, and it builds on this as well, because you did a certified call. In Arch, we have Arch certificate. Arch certified practitioners. We have a community of practice, and we share case experiences. We do kind of peer mentoring and things like that. And you shared about a session where, this client was going to leave. She didn't
Mhm.
think this was for her. The facilitators were feeling this wasn't for her.
Yeah.
And it transformed. And I don't know if you want to tell that story or something similar to that, but it I wonder if this topic kind of aligns with what transformed in that process. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it does. I'm actually sitting in this exact same spot as that story, which is interesting. But that definition of the agenda, not having an agenda or having an agenda that's different than a treatment goal or how something's going to look. I was in this experience, I was stepping in for a MH that was out that day. And in preparation to do that, it had been shared that this client hadn't gone with horses for quite a while, just really wasn't engaging. And the team was thinking, it's probably time to maybe take a break. And so I think what really is standing out to me, a couple things is I gave myself permission to just be with, because right, I wasn't the MH that's been with them or going to be with them. I was filling in. So I just was like, I'm going to be with the story. I'm going to be curious. All the things I try to be in my sessions all the time, but sometimes, right, I get more focused on where I'm trying to get to, and delivering on the treatment goals and all of that, or what my performance is going to be like. I'm human. I want to do a good job. I want the client to find benefit. And that day I was like, my goal is to be with, and just have that, whatever shows up, I'm going to just welcome and be with. And so we sat here, and as the client didn't look at me, looked at the ES and was very clear, kind of sat next to me and was not engaging with me. And it was, felt like clear communication that she didn't really want me to engage or add or even be there. But I was like, that's cool. That's here in this space. And I don't have to do anything with that. I can just acknowledge. And, I don't know if that's what she really means, but what I'm seeing is not inviting me into the conversation as we checked in. And she started sharing about her week. And anyway, as I was listening, there was an opportunity and a pause. It was almost like she was from a fire hose, just giving her input from the week and processing, just like, here's my update and fire hose. And then there was a pause about 20 minutes in, and she had been talking about her grandson, and she had been talking about not seeing him. And through being with and in this environment of just welcoming in whatever she brought in this space, I felt my heart connect. It really felt like with her, my grandma heart connect with her grandma heart. And I allowed myself to just be curious and to have that opportunity to just mention that. Like, would it be okay if I ask for permission, if I share something that I'm just noticing entering in the space? And she said yes, I felt a little annoyed, but that was okay too. I was like, okay. So now we have like some annoyed, we have some, anyway. And I shared about my grandma heart and her grandma heart. And it was feeling some sadness, or connection with your grandma heart. And it was in that moment that it felt like this whole next level of opportunity came forward to explore what was there. The door literally seemed to open, and she shifted towards me, and we went to a whole nother level, as she, I really believe, felt seen and heard in that moment, and that it was safe for her to share what was on her mind and her heart. Um, the pace and how she spoke changed. The pressure in her voice changed. And we started to talk about things as we do in Arch, in a story framework. And listening with that softness and that gentleness for anything and everything to show up. She has continued. There's a whole bunch of that. And if you want to listen to more about that story, I know already recorded, so we won't go into it anymore. But there's a lot. That client still is coming. She's out with horses now, and she's making great progress. And the team has continued to pick up and just create that emotional safe space for anything to emerge.
Oh yeah, I love that, Lynn. It and how powerful. I mean, literally, this was a client that was like, "This isn't for me," and the facilitators felt the same way.
Yeah.
And it was just that change of mindset of just be with, be
Yeah.
curious, whatever's entering the space. And I love that you shared too, recognizing her grandma heart as a character in the story, and you have a grandma heart too, and you
Yeah.
just connected your grandma hearts, and it was that, just that
Well, you know what I
made
was
such a
thinking?
difference.
Yeah, I was thinking, Lynn, about how create emotional safety for our clients, but I really believe it begins for us, right? To also have emotional safety for ourselves, right? To come forward, s- to bring something forward, to be quiet, to like, all those things are welcome. We're not, we want to see and hear ourselves as facilitators. Not easy to say, but as facilitators too, right? And if we create that space with ourselves, and then we bring it into the session with the client, and I feel like it starts before our time with the client.
It totally does. And getting that, yeah, ourselves in that mindset and being conscious and mindful about these kind of subtle things that we might be doing. And I think this fits with what George was saying. And I think Julie shared it in one of her comments too, is that mindset of what are we going to teach them? We have
Mhm.
agendas, we have treatment goals, we have objectives we're trying to meet. So, and we show up and it's like, I need to teach them to reach those objectives. So it's shifting. And what I heard you saying too, Lynn, is shifting from what am I going to teach them
Mhm.
to what space helps the learning unfold.
Well, the
What
healing come
kind of
forward
space?
itself,
Yeah.
right? So if we can
Mhm.
create that space, and also an evolution for me is, used to spend time like teaching more about coping skills, improving coping skills, or they're able to handle their anxiety better, their work through depression better, um, and we would work on coping skills, and that was our measurement. And now, really, in this new way of facilitating and being with, and the emotional safety, as we've been talking about, the story framework with Arch, there's transformational healing. It is not coping skills. Coping skills, I feel, are up here. And this is transformational in the body, shifts and changes that happen for people, which ripple out to everything.
Yeah. I mean, how often do people get to experience truly feeling seen, heard, and accepted, like
Yeah.
you're saying? And that's what you're talking about is,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think that's the question that sometimes people ask is, um, well, I do have expertise. I do have some wonderful tools and things I want to teach the clients. And hey, they're struggling to get the horse to move or something like that. And it's like, well, do this, do that. Like, I'm going to teach them some things. How do you balance that? What is your thoughts, and all you guys listening to, your thoughts on how to balance that? We do come in with agendas. We do come in with things to teach, with, at the same time, how do we still continue that space where people feel truly seen, heard, and accepted? How do you balance that? Um,
Well, quickly, what comes to mind, I think, is offering things with choice, and being curious with the client. Um, that one offering maybe asking for permission, is this a time when, sharing maybe something that I've experienced might be helpful? And if they say no, that's totally okay. And if we've created that space, I've had clients be like, no, I don't want to know that right now. And be like, okay. And then we go with, what, where they want to go, or offering, like, just I'm wondering about scary, to come back to your example earlier, Lynn, but I'm wondering about scary, and what what makes up scary? What are characteristics of scary, or is there something else? Is there an opposite to scary? And so kind of like hearing it, acknowledging it, and just offering or wondering with curiosity about the other thing, and
Mm.
opening it up. It could be, maybe it's not the opposite, maybe it's something totally, then I feel like that invites wonder and curiosity in our clients, and then they can bring in other things, not just opposite, or not,
Right.
what are your
Yeah, 'cause
thoughts?
oh, I love that focus on choice and being with. And it doesn't mean we don't have agendas. It doesn't mean there's not a curriculum to get through, or
Mm-hmm.
things like that. Again, it goes back to the way we go about it. And that's what I love what you're saying there. I think about horses, I guess, and what an answer to that question, what is the role? How do horses do it?
Yeah.
You know? And it goes back to, because I think of, it doesn't mean a horse doesn't say, I'm not going to do what you asked me to do, or or I'm not going to challenge you, and it doesn't feel emotionally safe, because I'm like, oh, I can't do this, I'm frustrated, I'm struggling, and in my mind, I'm like, that doesn't feel emotionally safe. Yet at the same time, the horse, and what George was saying, the horse has the prerogative to say, I am not agreeing with you right now.
Mm-hmm.
I have other needs and wants, and I'm that are not matching with your needs and wants. And so now we travel a journey of discovery about how are we going to work through this. And I think that's the emotional safety part, is there's that space to travel the journey of discovery. And I think, versus, okay, we're going to control the horse now. We're going to make the horse do what we want. And we do that with our clients sometimes too. No, I'm going to tell you what you need to do and the way I feel you should do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to control this session versus be open to choice. And I feel like horses maybe can teach us that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Amanda.
Yeah, I'm really just flowing with your conversation here. And what came to me as I was listening a moment ago is this, bringing in with the softness and the gentleness, Lynn Moore, you were mentioning, and the soft eyes and the soft ears, and how do we hold our agenda and wanting to teach with our desire to empower, have an empowering mindset about our clients' ability to make their own choices, to find their own answers, and to actually have those answers already. And I think it really is about holding it lightly. We can still have our hopes and dreams and aspirations and goals and all of that as we prepare. And when we step through that gate of transformation, we're moving into a land of possibilities where anything can happen, as long as we can hold that space lightly and allow the client to step into it when they're ready. And, going back to George's comment, I think, and to yours, Lynn Thomas, I think horses are great teachers in that regard. Horses, when they communicate with each other, if they need to up the ante, if they need to be really strong and direct, they can, but they oftentimes can do it with all the subtle nuances. And I think we can learn a lot from them about how to be, as you keep talking about, how do we do this? How do we be in community? And how do we be in relationship with our clients and the environment?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.
You know,
And
as
it's not easy. Yeah.
I was just thinking that, you know, when our clients first come to us, um, and maybe it happens later on too, but this is a different way of being, right? Like the world does, I don't know, I would say majority of the world, general statement here, is not holding the space with emotional safety and being like, take your time and we'll be, you know, we'll just kind of be with you here. There's agendas and there's value given when we achieve things and when we're clear in what we mean and we better not make a mistake. I mean, I feel like when our clients come, that's what they're driving down the driveway with, right? And so when we first start our sessions here, it just acknowledging also, I don't verbally or maybe non-verbally, but just awareness that it's going to be new and it's going to feel different and it's probably going to feel uncomfortable, even though we think it's so great and we see the benefit of this. It might not be something people are familiar or comfortable with, and that they might have some pushback or they might want to, you know, what do you want me to do? Or, you know, get kind of more, sometimes people are aggressive, like, okay, what do you want me to do here? You want me to go out with the horses? You want me to stay here? Like, what are we doing here? And I think as facilitators, just like holding that too, and like, you know, in our informed consent, talking about the process and the messy middle and how this works out here, and being with them in this, like, wow, this is different, you know, and I'm not liking it right now. And that's perfectly fine to not like it. But things, right? Things are new, things are different.
Well, and I think again, emotional safety with that, it doesn't mean that we're not with in the sense of, oh, we're not going to answer, we're not going to give our thoughts or
Right,
perspectives. And I think that's sometimes that, oh, I'm just going to wait for you to figure it out. We're not talking about that either. I think being
right.
with is truly being in the process with our clients. Someone did ask over here, I'm over having to look over here at yeah, about the horses. Do you have examples of that to share? How do you use that horse information? And I think it fits with what we're talking about here. It doesn't mean we're not using any of this. It doesn't mean we're not sharing our perspectives. But like
Right.
you said earlier, Lynn, we're sharing our perspectives with the acute mindfulness about where are we coming in our attention. Am I saying this because I have an agenda? I'm trying to get the client to see it my way?
Mm-hmm.
Or am I doing it because we're genuinely having a conversation of discovery and learning together? And like we said in our values, that we're going to end up in places we didn't even initially imagine. So even with the horses, if the horse is giving some information, like doing something pretty, unique in response to the client, is there an example you would have, Lynn, of how you would use that? Or-
Um, well, I mean, I have so many examples. I'm just trying to think of, um, I mean, we introduced a new new horse this week, and the client was standing outside of the pasture, and the horse was. It was interesting because this client has also moved to a new environment in their housing situation, and so we used it in that way, right? Just kind of like just how it was just so curious to be like in this situation where here we are, right, with this new horse coming into a new location, new relationships, and let's just observe this and see. And the client engaged in that, and the one horse went out and was nose to nose with with some of the other herd, and one horse was back standing by the water and the gate. And we just were holding that and watching and observing and being with that, right? Because the horses, in my opinion, were really asking the questions. They were really bringing forward the emotions for this client. The client's story was literally playing out. But we did ask, at one point she took kind of a half a step and stopped towards the gate. And we just, said, option is if you'd like to go in, you can. If you want to stay out, you can stay out. Um, how, what would the next step look like? And she wanted to go in. And so she did. And she really saw herself with that one horse that was standing apart. And so we just explored that with her. Um, and noticed as the horses on the other side were looking back, looking, turning their head and their eyes towards the one that was back. We just brought some of those things forward, just wondering about the one here and the eyes looking that way, because she had brought forward what it looks like and how they were looking back. So I don't know if that answers your question to the person that was asking, but just being with what was showing up.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's been the theme here today is the be with. George says here, horses prefer side by side, not face to face. And I think being with again is in that space of curiosity. I don't know the outcome. And can I be curious? I guess the question is, can I be curious that we're going to meet this objective in a way that I don't anticipate? And in a pace I don't anticipate. We're talking about
Mhm.
flow. Maybe we're going to go this way instead of this way to get there. And we're doing it alongside whoever we're in relationship with, whether our
Mhm.
clients in life. I think all of this applies, where their voice matters, their perspective matters versus I'm the expert. Yes, I am I do have more training. I do have more knowledge. And can I hold that with humility? Can I hold that with really understanding my intention in that I might have something to learn here too? And that this is a journey of discovery. How am I creating a space where learning can emerge versus I have to teach it and it needs to be done this certain way? And I think it's a balance because yeah, I might want to teach some coping skills and I can as an offer, like you said, with choice. And here's one idea. Maybe you have other ideas to achieve
Mhm.
this. Let's learn together. And so we are working towards the objectives, but we just are open that the path might look very different and that if the client brings up, I don't want to do this, I feel this instead, that it's heard. And maybe we don't do that instead, but maybe we at least acknowledge it, discuss it, explore it, be curious about it.
Mhm.
Your voice matters. And I think it's not an easy road. It's not an easy way to go. But I think again with the mindset of, what am I trying to teach or how am I creating the space where people feel seen, heard, and accepted? And it doesn't mean we don't push back. We can. If the
Right.
horses do it, maybe I will maybe I'll say, you know what? Actually, I'm having a perspective about that this horse might need some space right now.
Yep.
Let's see it. I'm bringing that into this story here, but I'm still going to present it in a way of if you disagree with me,
Mhm.
client, let's hear the disagreement. I want to hear your perspective too.
Yeah, and I think I want to mention, we were in a 3 to 5 acre space with this herd of horses introducing a new horse, and we were talking about physical safety as well as emotional safety and balancing all of that. And it wasn't the first time this horse had been in there; it was the second time. But we were, aware of kind of where we were thinking, where would safety be, where's emotional safety, like all of that. And the client was brought into that. Safety is a key piece of her story, physical and emotional. And so it really just being with that um, worked well. But yeah, what you're saying, you're just kind of it's not an easy thing to do. It is being in the moment, assessing and curious, evaluating. And we could have said, no, we're not going to go in that would have been a equally fine choice if that's where we felt. We could have explained that. If the client wanted to go in, we could have still said, you know, no, this is why we're going to stay out today. Or, you know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's we can have boundaries. Emotional safety is not anarchy, you know. And yet we're going to be mindful about you know, okay, we can't go in today, or you know, we're not going to go in today, and here's the reasons why.
Mhm.
What are other possibilities we could do, you
Yep.
know? So anyway, well, I guess our ultimate hope today is just, I guess, encouraging those reflections, maybe hopefully looking at maybe the way we doing things. Again, it's not the what we're doing, it's the way that we can just look at that. If you check out the blog article, there's some questions for reflection in there too, just to kind of think about that some more. There's some more examples. So we'd love to hear more of your comments on that, or here in this video, because we, you know, like, and would love to keep learning different ideas or thoughts around this, or challenges that you guys have encountered in different sessions. We'll be posting a recording Alejandra, Lara, and I did. It gave a presentation to a PATH regional conference on this topic too, that kind of takes a little different angle to it, and we'll be posting that on our Arch YouTube as well here in the near future. So hopefully you'll check that out as well. But I hope it does start more discussion on this, because I think, again, many times we're so focused on what we need to teach or the model we're trying to follow or anything like that, that maybe sometimes we forget those little moments where we don't pause when we might have, maybe a pause might have mattered, or we don't hear because we're busy trying to reassure or fix,
Mhm.
or these little moments, you know, oh, we need to get from here to there. We do need to get from here to there. And just that openness to, are there moments in that process that we might just take that breath and just say, let's be with
Mhm.
this moment, this hard time. So hopefully, thank you guys for joining us. Lynn or Amanda, do you guys have any more thoughts in this?
It's such a rich conversation and so many levels to continue to grow and learn. So thanks for the opportunity.
Yes. Thank you all who've been commenting in here. And someday we'll figure out how to let you speak. But right now, we'll just keep following your comments and really appreciate the support and the interest and curiosity. So hope you'll continue to ask and question and challenge, like Len was saying. So thank you.
Thank you guys. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.